everybody, welcome or welcome back to Bonham Louisa Knits. This is a knitting channel where I talk about everything that I've been up to in the knitting world. So I'm so glad to be catching up with all of you. It's been a couple of weeks since my last episode and so much has happened and so many things have been purchased and worked on. So lots of things to debrief about. So I'm going to start with what I'm wearing. This is the Lento sweater. It is a finished object from last time. So I knit this in the Wandering Flock, and it has a little bit shorter sleeves, kind of like bracelet length sleeves. And the colorways were Holographic Dreams and Birthday. Sprinkles? Birthday is in the name. So I alternated skeins on this project, so it's not just Holographic Dreams or just Birthday candles. Birthday sprinkles. I think it's sprinkles. So you don't really get to see one colorway or the other, so you'll want to check out the Wandering Flock website if you're interested in this yarn. It has been beautiful. I love kind of the little nibbits that you get. So you get some like bright yellow and blue and pink in there, which I think is super fun. And I held pink alpaca silk from Drops with it. So this was a really quick project, and I would definitely recommend this for somebody that is interested in purchasing some hand-dyed yarn but maybe doesn't have the largest budget in the whole entire world, because I was actually able to knit this whole sweater with just 2 skeins of fingering weight hand-dyed Wandering Flock, and then holding that with the Drops alpaca silk, which is very inexpensive yarn. So I think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this, and I've been really happy with the finished project. Full disclosure, I have not worn this at all, so I blocked it, and this is the first time I've actually had it on. And the reason for that is I am on crutches. So last episode you heard me getting some of my jitters out, my pre-surgery jitters. I had knee surgery right before Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is in the US, so the end of November, and it is now almost the end of December, and I was nervous. And now I'm on crutches. The surgery went well, but I am worried about the friction kind of in this underarm area. I don't want to get any pilling happening there. So just have to be a little bit more careful with my hand knits this winter season. So being a little strategic, a little clever with my wardrobe options at this point. The other kind of not so great thing about my finished object is that I didn't do a great job alternating skeins. So I have never alternated skeins before. I've been one of those people that is just like, if it's a different dye lot, different colorway, like, meh, you know, it won't be that big of a difference, and if it is that big of a difference, like, it might look cool, so I'm not going to worry about it. But with this one, the Holographic Dreams and the Birthday Candle colorway were pretty different, so I knew that I didn't want to just kind of do one or the other. It really needed to alternate. So I was like, I'm going to alternate skeins, and I watched a couple of YouTube videos about it. And I decided to do the method where that when you knit to the end, or the end of your round, you pull your working yarn forward, and then you put your next working yarn to the back, and then you start knitting with that. And then you go all the way around, and the one that you're working with goes forward, and the one that you are going to work with goes back. And what this does is it kind of twists the yarn so that like it's weaving whoop, all the way up your seam. And I did something where it made a seam, like it's a pretty visible seam. And I was hoping that it was gonna block out, and it did not block out. And I was hoping that it wouldn't be that noticeable, and it's pretty noticeable. So I think the beginning of the round, I'm gonna turn this around real quick, is at the front. Oh, you can already see it. Everybody see it. So you can see that there's like a seam happening with my stitches here. And I mean, it's not super duper noticeable on camera maybe, but when I get back, you see that there is a little vertical line happening. So not ideal, not something that I'm super excited about. However, there are lots of sweaters that have kind of a seam feature either directly in the front, which it does make like a perfect vertical line. So I guess I could just make it into a design feature and say it. But if anybody has any recommendations on which technique you use for alternating skeins, let me know. Because originally I was just thinking knit one round, stop, just drop the yarn, start knitting the next round, drop, stop, and just keep going like that. And maybe that would have done me better than this moving forward, moving back. I'm not sure. So let me know. Let me know what y'all do, because this is just something I'm gonna live with at this point. I'm not gonna undo it or anything. It's not that worrisome, but a little like, we should learn how to do that next time. Speaking of which, it's getting close to the end of 2024, and I know this is kind of the time of year where people start thinking about goals and what they want to be knitting or making or learning, and I should learn how to alternate skeins in 2025. That would be wonderful. Let's do that. That'll be on my list. Okay, so more projects. The one that I think I was working on last episode was my pressed flowers cardigan, and we have made so much progress. So like I said, I had knee surgery, so I was in bed for a week. So I had my leg propped up because I needed to have it elevated so I wouldn't get any blood clots. And in that time, a lot of knitting was done. Since that time though, I went back to work, probably too soon, but I went back to work and my knitting has kind of slowed down. But because I don't have the kind of job where I can be completely off my feet with my leg propped up, I've been doing that a lot when I get home from work. So my knitting has definitely seen kind of an influx in my productivity here, and it's cheering me up because I like getting things done and I feel productive. And when you have a leg that is not allowing you to do the things you normally do, at least I have knitting, so we're looking at the positives here. But this is, let me show you the back. Ooh, pretty, right? I was a little worried about what this is gonna do, and I asked a few people kind of what I should do with my skein. So I used every rose from Spin Cycle dyed in the wool, and that's where I get more of these like pale orange, cream, and then I call this like the raspberry kind of color. That's all from the Every Rose skeins. And I Frankenstein those yarn balls like you wouldn't believe to get out all of the green. So if you are looking for this kind of effect, I would not buy Every Rose, or at least it didn't work out very well for me. When I tried to order it again, I got really red skeins, which I think I showed you last time. But there is a yarn shop, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. Sorry, I'm wiggling the camera. From La Mercerie, which I believe is in Washington State. And they have a yarn shop exclusive colorway that's absolutely beautiful. It's called Pale September. And I think you would get that effect a lot better with that colorway of yarn rather than doing my version. But I was using that Every Rose, very Frankenstein, and then it goes more into like pinksies and purples up here, and no, pinksies is not a word, pink-ish, pinky, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but it is a different colorway altogether. And the colorway that I used is called, I don't want to get it wrong, it is this beautiful kind of purpley orange with a lot of pink in the middle. This is called Wallflower. So if you're a fan of the spin cycle yarn that's more tonal and solid colors, this one is really beautiful. So you do get some color variation, but it's definitely all within that like girly pink purple family, rather than something that's going to be wildly changing, like the Every Rose, which goes from, you know, the pink to the orange to the cream to the pink to green and yellow. So if you're somebody that's more wanting one family of colorway, I think the Wallflower is beautiful. And you can definitely tell where I started using that Wallflower. So I added like a little pink down here and a little pink in here, and then I capped it off with some pink. And I thought this was kind of a good way to do it because my hair is long, so you're gonna get some of that pink shining through, but it's not gonna be like, whoa, what did you do? That's completely different. And then the sleeves aren't gonna be knit predominantly out of the Wallflower colorway. I just don't have very much Every Rose, and my budget does not, this is all I have left, and my budget does not permit me to buy many more skeins to get the chunks that I prefer. So I am doing well on this. I seamed the shoulders, which I think turned out pretty well. I had a lot of trouble understanding this pressed flowers cardigan pattern, and I haven't heard that from anybody else, but it was the same when I was doing the pressed flowers shawl. There's just something about the way that it's written that it doesn't click for me. It doesn't. So I don't know if there's just things that I should know that are not included in the pattern or what's going on. But even like we had to do a little bit of shaping in here, and it just says like follow stitch pattern. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm following the stitch pattern, then I'm going to be making, you know, these pink and gray or like pink and solid color all the way through. But then when I went to go seam it, you see that there are some areas where it's just missing that. So I'm sure that it is a me error and not a pattern error, but I think it could be a little more clear so that I don't continue to have the me errors. Is that fair? Hopefully that's fair. Hopefully that makes sense to some of you. So I have the body done. I just need to do 2 sleeves, and then I need to do a button band. So this is well on its way to being finished, and I'm really excited about it. It's a beautiful length on me. It's a little bit oversized and cozy, so I think it's gonna be really, really good when it's finished. And then I forgot to tell you, the main colorway is Ulysses in the color Darjeeling. And I love this yarn. It is my preferred non-superwash yarn feeling. So I have always been a little sensitive to wool. It makes me itchy. Mohair, I have now discovered, is just, I can't do it. I can't do it without just itching all over the place. So I am particular. I'm particular about the yarn that I like to knit with. And I think this one is a really good non-superwash, squishy, fluffy yarn for somebody that has more sensitive skin. Now we're all different, so my sensitive skin might not be your definition of sensitive skin. So take that with a huge pinch of salt there, because you can't trust everything you hear on the internet by any means. But I do actually very much enjoy that yarn, which is great because I have another sweater quantity of it. So I'm glad that I really do enjoy it. Okay. I have more surprises. So like I said, I have been knitting more than usual. So I cast on my porcelain sweater. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I do this? This is a wonderful pattern that is so easy to understand, and it is just like my perfect winter ski lodge of my dreams sweater. So it is coming out really well. As you can tell, I finished the body. I did my ribbing, which is just a 1x1 rib. I did a tubular bind off just to hide that. So I love that. I have a double folded collar, and then this is kind of a raglan design, but it's not really a raglan. Drop shoulder. Sorry, this is drop shoulder. There's no raglan there. So I am very excited about having this in my wardrobe. It is a little bit oversized. It's not like hugely oversized. So I would recommend really taking a look at the pattern photos to decide what size you want to make. So when I was looking at the pattern photo, the main page pattern photo for the porcelain sweater, it is very oversized. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna knit whatever size my bust measurement is, plus maybe like a few centimeters of positive ease, because my bust is the fullest part of my abdomen. And then later on in the pattern, you find out that the model in the main picture is wearing like the maximum positive ease that they suggest. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have picked a different size. But I think that this is still gonna be super lovely. And I'm hoping that I can get this done pretty quickly so that I can wear it before the new year. And the yarn that I made this out of, I was a little bit worried about. I know that I've purchased it since making these videos. So it is drops again, and I used Flora, and this is color 10, but I'm holding it with a much brighter drops alpaca silk, which is number 26. And it's making this beautiful kind of in-between blue. And it's not marled, which I'm really kind of pleasantly surprised by. I mean, you can see that there's definitely some variation in the colors that you see, but from any sort of distance, unless I'm like really zooming in up close, you can't tell at all that those colorways are pretty different from one another. And then for the main colors, I'm using Drops Flora again in the colorway 1, and Drop Alpaca Silk in the colorway 1 as well. So this is my first winter weight colorwork sweater of this year that I've made. And there's just something just so beautiful about this really classic motif on a thicker, warmer sweater that I think I'm just gonna really, really love. As a newer colorwork knitter, I don't think I've ever worked colorwork on this size needle. And I have a little bit of puckering happening. Not horribly, I think this will mostly block out, but it is a little a little puckery in places. So I'm hoping that with a good block, the magic of this will come out even more. So I'm hoping everybody. But what a beautiful pattern. So well written, so easy to follow. I think this would make a wonderful first sweater color work pattern for people, just because it's very easy to tell if you have messed this up, because it's a very like obvious stitch. The leaves are a little bit harder to follow that chart, but it's sandwiched in between really kind of basic color work, and then the bottom one, once again, very easy to tell if there's something going a little amiss there. So definitely highly recommend, 10 out of 10, wonderful project. And I'm so excited to have that one be part of my wardrobe soon. Okay, and you would think normally that would be all that I would have to show you, because I am a fairly monogamous knitter. However, bed rest has not been that restful. I have a whole new pattern too. There's 2 new patterns here, everybody. So this is my yoke, and it's a little bunched up, so I apologize for that. For my field sweater, so this is a pattern by Camilla Vad, or maybe Camilla Vad, and it makes these lovely grain motifs all over the circular yoke. So it almost looks like a necklace that you're wearing. So I feel like this is the kind of knitted garment that you wouldn't need to accessorize with a really big statement necklace, because it kind of is all there for you already. These little baubles are not baubles, actually. They are like knit yarn over, but very small, I guess, baubles. And then you are cabling throughout. So if the porcelain sweater is a good recommendation for a first colorwork sweater, I would say that the field sweater is a wonderful choice for somebody that is new to cables. The pattern is, once again, wonderfully written. It is not charted, so for those of you that are a little fearful of charts, it was super easy to follow. She tells you exactly what to do on every row. With that being said, there are 43 rows that are unique, where you're doing something different every single row. So you want some way to keep track of which row you're on. So for me, I just used the pattern, and then I moved my little pink, purple, that's purple, everybody, tape, highlighter tape down each row that I was finished with. And the yarn that I'm using is the yarn that they used in the pattern sample. This is Isair Eco Baby. And this is a really fun blend. It's 68% baby alpaca and 32% cotton. So it has kind of this chainette design, yarn plies, which I think is just really fun. It feels very light as you're knitting it. And just like it's gonna be a wonderful, versatile, multi-weather kind of project. So I'm really excited for that. I have a few more rounds to knit before sleeve separation, and then I will be separating sleeves and just away we go. I actually have one more finished object, but it is downstairs, and that is just too much work for me right now. But I made a weekend hat by Petite Knit for my son, and if I have a good picture, I will pop it in. I knit it with Sandnes Garn in Pure Gint in the colorway Poppy. And I never worked with Pure Gint before, but it is a very, like, it almost feels like acrylic is in it, but it's 100% superwash, I believe. Non-superwash, but it is a very like bouncy kind of fabric. And I just thought that was really interesting because it feels squishy, and it just feels like it has a lot of air in it, but also like it has structure to it, like an acrylic would. It's just a very interesting yarn feeling, and it is a joy to knit with. Like, I just cruised right through that. I don't know how I would feel about a sweater in Pure Gint, but I was told, like, if you like Pure Gint for accessories, you'll love Double Sunday by Sandnes Garn for garments. So I'm gonna take that advice, and I'm gonna try some Sandnes Garn Double Sunday on a sweater probably in 2025 at some point, and I will let you know my official thoughts on that. Okay, so we are close to the end of the year, and I keep talking about 2025 because I have some thoughts. They're not really resolutions, but they're things that got mentioned at knit night last week. So we were discussing like goals in general and what those mean for different people and the kinds of things that we would like to be improving upon or giving up or whatnot. So if you are not a resolution person or a goal setting person, ignore this part of the video. But for me, I really like reflecting on all of the things that I've done throughout the year, particularly with my making, because it is such a journey and you learn so many new things and you develop new opinions about things and different techniques and styles, and you start brainstorming and getting really excited about the future. But with that being said, I am so proud of my past knitting projects from this year. So I just wanted to take a minute to say, like, hey, we have all come a long way in 1 year. And at the end of the year, you're thinking about all of the things that you want to improve upon and change and do better and whatnot. But like, y'all, we made it through this year and we've learned some things. So give yourself a little round of applause just for that. So what are my goals? I don't know. I really don't. But I do have some things that I would like to change a little bit with my making, or at least just be a little bit more thoughtful about. So the first one, alternating skeins, is a technique that I would love to learn how to do better. So I think if you're trying to figure out maybe where you want to go, what you want to do, learning something new is such a great goal to have. So that is one of mine. Another one that I have is not setting a goal for the number of projects that I knit in any sort of time frame. So last year, I kind of had this idea where I was like, okay, I should try to knit a sweater every month. And I don't know if I ever articulated that or verbalized that out loud, but I definitely thought about it. And I think that can be a very productive kind of goal for some people. Like, one of the girls was saying that she wanted to knit like 22 projects throughout 2024. And that numerical, like, can I reach this target, I think can be very, well, quantifiable for people, right? Like, you know, if you've knit exactly that much. There's no like guesswork. It's very black and white. And I appreciate that. However, I don't want to do that because I would rather kind of savor the process. And if something is bringing me joy, I should be knitting with it. With that being said, I would like to be knitting from my stash. So this lovely little IKEA cart over here is full of all of my Black Friday yarn purchases, because I will tell you, if you have never been bedridden on a Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend, you can do some damage. I was bored and I was in pain, and the sales just kept on coming. So I definitely know now that I can be a shopper based on my emotional state. So lesson learned. Thank you, 2024. But I do want to be knitting a little bit more out of my stash so that then when I see a sale or I see something that I'm really, really excited about, I just go for it, because I don't have any guilt about the things that are languishing or are just not getting done. Like, it'll be okay. All right. Anything else about that? Oh, ideally by the end of 2025, I would like to start the strategy, technique, life hack. I'm not even sure what you would call it, but those twins who knit, who have a podcast on YouTube that I love and I watch all the time, and I get so excited when they drop a video, they were talking about not making like a make 9 board or make 12 board at the beginning of the year, but instead coming up with the patterns that they're most excited about for a season, and they make a video about the patterns that they are so excited about for that season, and then they do a little wrap-up video about like what they accomplished and how their minds have changed or things that they learned along the way. And I think that's a brilliant kind of way to go about things, because I'm learning more and more about myself and my making, and I am realizing that for me, I get very excited about the new pattern and I want the new pattern. But if I have a huge yarn stash and a huge queue of patterns that I already have yarn for, that I'm dedicated to, I feel really guilty not knitting the oldest things in stash. So then by the time I get to the trendy new project, it's been a couple of years since this was like all the rage. So we are learning, we are getting there, but I'm not upset by any of my life decisions or anything like that. I don't want you to walk away with the wrong impression, but I think ideally I would be doing something a little bit more like that. So if there is something that I'm just so excited about, I have no guilt about going online or going to my local yarn shop and snatching up that yarn and just getting right to it. Okay, I don't have anything else as far as goals. That was a little life chatty, and I have my yarn, my beautiful yarn I'm so excited about, but a little bit, I don't know, I'm not anxious, but a little bit like, oh man, I have quite a bit of work to do to get to the end goal, which is being able to do that seasonal knitting a little bit easier. So I bought yarn for multiple things. I'm just gonna start with the thing that was on top, not the thing that came in first. It is in a bag. Ooh, you can kind of see those colorways pretty well. So this is part of the Explore Knits Leave No Trace. So they do this collection at the end of the year. This is all in their cashmere cavern sock, which was 80% superwash merino, 10% nylon, 10% cashmere. They're very generous skeins in my opinion. And I asked them for colorways by one of their dyers or one of their employees, like each released a collection of colors that were like their colors. So I just requested that in the comments and I got exactly what I wanted. I'm very excited about all of these different kind of tonal colors. It is a beautiful little collection there. So I think scraps for different things, like those all flow very well together. But I'm hoping to knit some more fancy socks. All of the girls at my knit night make these like really intricate lace or cabled work or color work socks. And I just have never been interested in doing that, but they have really knit influenced me. I'm like, oh, I want some like girly, feminine, fun, complicated, needlessly complicated socks. just because I feel like it is a good little project rather than getting a huge, complicated, crazy color, cable, lace, sweater. Like I can do it in this little tiny manageable project and then be like, oh, wow, I really know what I'm doing here. So I'm excited about doing that with that yarn, but you'll probably not see that yarn being used anytime soon if I'm trying to knit Oldest Thing in Stash moving forward, because I have a lot of sock yarn. That is my knitting souvenir. So whenever we go anywhere and there's a new knit store, I like to go in and buy a local color or dye or yarn. Okay, what next? We'll just do the one that's next in the pile. So this is a yarn company. This is Red Stag Fibre. I should turn their label around. And Red Stag Fibre is a new to me yarn dyer. And I was introduced to them at Rhinebeck. So their booth was at not actual Rhinebeck, one of the events before. And they were having a big sale, like 50 to 60% off of certain colorways in certain yarn bases. So I got the stained glass in their estate fingering weight, which was 100% superwash merino. And I love the little speckles of green and red. I think this is going to be super beautiful. So I'm going to need to learn how to alternate skeins before I knit with this. But I am thinking of doing a sorrel tee. And I'll pop a picture there so you know what the plan is. Okay, next one also from Red Stag Fibers. This is Stone Path, different base. This is a Highland Sport in 100% non-wash Peruvian wool. And I am going to knit a sheep camp sweater, I believe, with this was the plan. And I'm looking at it and going, oh man, I didn't buy enough of that. Oh wait, oh, there are 3 of them. Yes, that is what I was planning on doing with that. I was like, oh, that's not gonna be enough yarn. So that's the plan there. These skeins look pretty different in the light, but I think it's just the way that the light is hitting them. This one looks a lot lighter than these two. However, another project where wouldn't it be great to learn how to alternate skeins? Yes. So I was gonna knit the sheep camp sweater with this, and then for the color work part, I was going to use the Frankenstein Every Rose colorway from Dyed in the Wool by Spin Cycle. So the more green based, kind of with this neutral green yarn, I'm hoping will be a good match. And then I will feel a little bit less wasteful for chopping that spin cycle beyond belief. Okay, and then all of the other yarn I purchased that is here already is from a new to me company again. This is Bramble Ridge, and they are based out of Canada. And I got 3 of this Surrey alpaca lace, and this is just the softest alpaca lace. So I was getting a little just bored, I guess, of knitting with the Drops alpaca silk, and I wanted to try a different base that was still that alpaca silk. So this is 75% alpaca, 25% milk, silk, there we go, in the colorway Mist. So beautiful yarn there. This is actually at a pretty good price point. I mean, not as good as Drops, but it is a very fair price, if not a little generous to the buyer. So I got another colorway, 3 skeins, again, Surrey alpaca lace, and this is their Linum. So this Mist colorway kind of tends more to pinky purple, and this is more of a true white, maybe cream undertone. So if you're on their website and you're trying to figure out which one you want, you'll have a little bit of idea. And then I got one more, and I'm planning on holding this with the 2 skeins of Every Rose that I bought that were very red to make a tessellated pullover. And I'll put a picture. And this is Surrey alpaca lace in grackle. So all things considered, that was a lot of yarn. But it was some yarn purchasing for projects that I already have some of the yarn purchased. So I think I'm being thoughtful about my yarn and hoping that it will help me kind of stash down. And I know that sounds really contrary because like I bought yarn to put in my stash, but it is being paired with yarn that's already in my stash. So that kind of counts, right? The things that we say to ourselves to justify. So what else? I have 2 more packages that are on their way, and I will share with you what I purchased next time, because I'm hoping to kind of lay off on the purchasing for a little bit. Let my wallet recover, let my stash shrink, and then we'll consider what other things to add to stash enhance, if you will. All right, everybody, I hope this video finds you well. I hope that wherever you are enjoying yourself and you're around people that you love and care about and enjoying the end of 2024. All right, I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.